All right, welcome to chapter 7 of your 2024 story. My name is Michelle, owner and founder of Movara Fitness Resort. And this week we are talking about managing stress for better health. When we think about stress, a lot of us think of a bad thing, and it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but it's good and important to learn how to manage stress so that it can be a benefit for our health. So this week in our guidebook, so on Sundays we send out a journal prompt and the guidebook for each one of these things. So today I'm going to be going through 8 steps to manage stress better. The first in learning how to manage stress is understanding stress. So stress is a natural response that's initially designed for survival. And when you think about it, in order to handle stressful situations, the body has a natural response to it to help us get through these stressful situations. So, but in modern contexts, it can become chronic to our health. It can affect our health. It can affect our decision making and really overall the quality of our life. Because if we don't have good stress management tools, it can be constantly affecting the quality of our life. It really is crucial to understand that stress is not inherently negative. Really, what's important to understand, it's our reaction to the stress that determines the impact of the stress. So again, we have the stress, it's how we react to that. So really that's the first step, is understanding. So one thing you can do, and in the journal prompt, you'll notice it has you go through a process of reflecting on your current understanding of stress. Write it down, put pen to paper, and talk about what stress means to you, because for everybody, it's a very different experience. Some react very differently to stress, and then also what triggers others may not be the same thing for somebody else. So how do you perceive stress in your life? Write it down, write your thoughts. What does stress look like in your life? Understanding, and again, recognizing and acknowledging the stress that you have in your life will be the first step in order to implement new habits. If we don't understand something, it's hard to change something we don't fully understand. So step 2 is going to be identifying stress triggers. Again, we all react to stress differently, and it's important to know and understand what triggers a stress response for you. So journaling can be a very powerful experience where you write down, hey, this is what happened. This is how it made me feel. This is how I reacted to it. Once we can read and recognize that, then again, we can make some changes. So oftentimes, stress can be rooted in personal experiences in our environments and our perceptions, because for some people, growing up in a different area or with different parents or experiences will affect completely how we react and respond. So recognizing these triggers is, again, very important in order to see change and being able to manage it, allowing for a proactive rather than reactive. Because if we know that, hey, when I do da 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 da, or if I'm in this experience, or I'm around these type of people, this is what happens and this is how I normally respond. So when you know something's going to be a certain way, you can plan for it. You can have some things that are going to help you get through it, or completely know that, hey, in this situation I don't do well. I'm going to put myself in a different situation. So note and write down the moments when you feel stressed and what might be triggering these different types of feelings. So do that for 2 or 3 days. Keep a journal of it, or an entire week. You can do that. Okay, so the third step would be breaking free from stress conditioning, which I think is really eye-opening when we realize and we recognize things from past experiences, social norms, because of who we're around and how we're raised. So becoming aware of these conditioned responses can be the start to choose more healthy and constructive ways to deal and cope with stress. So, one of the exercises that you can do is reflect on whether your stress responses are influenced by learned behaviors or societal expectations. So, again, noticing that the environment that you're in and the social expectations, because I share this quote all the time, and I've probably shared it already multiple times, but our expectations can be the root of our frustration. And just because somebody else does something or it looks a certain way, and the expectation is for it to look a certain way or to be a certain way, it can be extremely stressful. And so changing that expectation can be a really huge advantage and tool for managing stress, because just because society does it this way, or in your environment or the people that you're around, or you look and view things on social media and it looks a certain way, absolutely doesn't mean that it needs to be that way. For example, I think I've shared this before, but some people like to exercise at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Or somebody may have this routine at home is for cleaning that works for them, and they say, okay, this is how you have to do it. This has to be this way. Your kitchen needs to be clean every night before you go to bed. Well, if that's the case and that's not happening, and then you feel bad, there's a certain amount of stress because of an expectation of somebody else's view of how it needs to look. Or if mornings are just not, you've got a newborn, or if you've got younger kids, or if you have teenagers and exercising in the morning is not happening, that's going to cause a lot of stress. And so changing that expectation of what it needs to look like, or what other people say it needs to be, or how you were raised. It was done this certain way. Well, guess what? You marry someone else and it was done a different way. And then you have this expectation of what you think it needs to look like, what they think it needs to look like. And that can cause a lot of stress. Or at work, having it look and be a certain way can be extremely stressful. So step 4 in managing stress for better health is to be proactive with stress management techniques. And I'm going to share with you a list of different things that can be used as stress techniques. And I want you to ask yourself if you do any of these. And if you don't do any of these may be things that you can implement as stress management techniques. Like mindfulness and relaxation aren't just about calming the mind in the moment. They are tools for rewiring our brain's response to stress, leading to long-term changes in how we handle stressors. So, taking or having the practice of a 10-minute mindfulness meditation using a guided session. So there are a gazillion different apps and tools you can search, mindfulness apps, and spending 10 minutes a day can be something that can help you. So here's just a list of things. The first, and I'm going to actually go in depth a little bit more because this is actually step number 5, but being active, having a regular physical routine in your day. So every day I walk for 10 minutes in the morning, or every day at lunch I go for a quick break and I take a walk, or every day I walk a certain amount of steps. Every day I do stretch at this time. So having a very consistent, regular, doesn't have to be intense or extreme, physical active routine can be a huge tool to managing stress. You've heard it from me, and I'll share it again, and I'll continue sharing it. But for me, that is probably my number one tool that I use to help manage stress, and even with that, there's still stress. But without that, the stress really would almost be non-manageable for me. People ask all the time, how do you handle all of the stress of running a business and having kids? And I tell them, I'm like, honestly, I don't. I have a routine and I have a schedule that helps me get through it, because the stress is still there. It doesn't go away. It's not like, oh, good, I'm exercising every day, I have no stress. No, there's still stress. I'm just able to get through it. And without it, I don't know that I could get through the amount of stress that we have. So for me, having, and I've had it for years, for over 25 plus years, a very regular routine of being active. And it's not always a lot. It can be 20 minutes. I share with guests all the time that 20 minutes a day can have a huge impact in your life. So that is big. Now, diet is another one. Now, so first of all, ask yourself, do you have a regular physical routine? If you do, awesome. You're already using that tool. If not, I highly recommend finding a routine that is going to work for you. It can be going to the gym at a certain time every day. If that works for you and you like that, that's amazing. If it's just, again, I have a dog that needs to be walked and I take him on a walk every day. And if you're already doing that, that's great. You may not even realize how much that is actually helping you. Again, it's not going to get rid of stress. I think that that's one of the misconceptions of, I need no stress. We don't need, stress is a good thing. It's just how we manage it and get through it. So if you don't have that regular routine, find something. And again, it can be very minimal, 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes in the evening. I do, 10 different stretches, or I have a routine that is some type of a physical, and you may have that. You may already be doing that. So the second thing is our diet. I think that this is overlooked and underestimated on how much our diet can affect our stress. When we're eating poor, when we're not fueling our body adequately, we aren't going to feel great. And a lot of times diet and exercise are associated with weight loss. Now, when we are active and our diet is in line with what our body's needs are, the weight loss will be a bonus. But these are things, again, that are overlooked. It's not just for our weight loss. Our diet can affect our level of stress immensely, more than we even recognize. If we're over consuming, our body's going to feel sluggish. We're not going to be our best, and therefore have a very hard time managing stress. We don't realize the impact of what we eat and how we react to stress. So try it. Try one day of choosing foods that you feel are in line with your body's needs and are going to give you adequate nutrients, and notice how your body reacts to stress, or even how you feel that day. And not what the scale says, but how your body reacts or responds. Now, again, I'll still stress with every one of these tools, it's not going to eliminate stress. It's going to help you manage and get through the stress. That's actually a really great thing for us. So again, active, and then our diet, those two things. How is your diet? Is it something that you are using to manage stress, not just for weight loss or for fitness or anything else, but for your stress? Okay, the third thing, which is a big one, it's avoiding unhealthy habits. Do we have unhealthy habits that we do every day? Are we staying up late? Are we sleeping in? Are we missing appointments? Are we over consuming alcohol or coffee and caffeine? Those things, and again, that's a little bit of our diet as well. But do we have habits of being unkind to people and allowing our anger to take over? So these are unhealthy habits that affect our stress. It affects our ability to manage stress. So do you have unhealthy habits? So that's the third thing, is avoiding unhealthy habits. Do you have a regular routine of meditating? And this can be in your car. It can be, again, first thing in the morning or right in the evenings. It can be in the middle of the day with a deep breathing, just taking 10 deep breaths to relax and to bring our mind back to a calm level. This one I actually thought was one thing that I could probably do a lot more of. That's not doesn't come naturally for me, but some people are really good at it. And I actually am married to someone who loves to watch a good show or have a good laugh. And it's laughing more. That's something that we can do more of. So are you somebody that allows yourself to let go and laugh more? It's amazing what a good laugh can do for you. And sometimes we have to work at that. So that might be something that you can implement more of. Another thing is connecting with others. Now, some may say, well, that actually causes me stress. And that it can, connecting with the wrong people and how that, notice how that makes you feel. But learning techniques of having boundaries and learning how to communicate with people, and then having the connection of those people that do help you feel better. So the people that help you feel better, those are the people that you want to connect more with, those that you love and appreciate, your friends, your family, or again, even just people that make you feel better. So having a connection with others. Recently, we had a guest who had lost her husband, and during COVID, she just said, I stopped connecting with people, and coming here and connecting with people from all over the world that come from all over. She's like, it was just so nice to sit at the table, and I didn't realize that I was missing that. So that can be something that you're missing and maybe don't realize, is connection with other people. The other thing is learning how to assert yourself in the right situations in the right times, and not, or basically learning how to say no when no is necessary. So rather than, promising and being other places, that can be extremely stressful. Knowing your limits, saying, you know what, learning how to say no, learning how to know what is going to cause more stress, and not feeling bad about that. We live in a society where more is better, and it's like, oh, look at all of the things I'm accomplishing and doing, and we have this false pride of productivity, and a false pride of stress as well. So learning how to say no and being okay with that, and knowing that, you know what, I actually look and admire to people who know how to say no and say, nope, I've too busy, or I've planned this, or I've planned that. So that is a really great tool to learn how to do. Yoga has been a really great tool for a lot of people. It's another form of meditation as well, but also physically moving your body. Pilates would also go in that same thing. Learning also and acknowledging your level of sleep. Sleep is a big one, I know, for a lot of people. If we're not getting the right amount and sleeping at the right time, because it's like you can't just sleep in the mornings. That's not going to be the best sleep cycle for you. So getting the right amount of sleep, really the magic hour is that 10 to 2 or 3 a.m. Are you getting good sleep during those times, and the right amount of sleep for you? So that's something that, and then also, is your sleep uninterrupted at nights? Another great tool that we've helped implement with a lot of our guests is journaling. I love the weekly journal prompt. I have guests every week telling me like, oh, I did the journal prompt for this week, and it was a really great way to reflect. Putting pen to paper can be very therapeutic and help us realize and become aware of the things that are causing us stress. So journaling and taking advantage of those journal prompts. Another one is tapping into your musical side of you, whether it's listening to music that you love, or if you are musical yourself, singing or playing an instrument, or being creative. I know for a lot of people, that's an outlet for them to be able to create something, whether it's in the kitchen or craft wise, or in the tool shop. So using your creative side can be a really great way to manage stress. And the last is to seek counseling, which I know can be extremely beneficial, and seeking the right type of counseling, but even just being able to voice and listen, having somebody that's not going to be influenced, but a professional that can give you advice can be very, very beneficial. Okay, so having some proactive stress management techniques like the ones that I listed, if you're already doing some of those, great. And if not, I would look at, implementing some of those. Okay, so the fifth step is the physical approach to stress management, which I already touched on a little bit with exercise and our diet, but it can help significantly mitigate the physical effects of stress, enhancing both mental and physical resilience. So one of my takes or outlooks on this is, because I know, like many of you, probably are like, I'm too busy. I don't have time, because there are a million things that we can and should be doing. And the one thing that I always look at is I really can't afford not to. So although I have a lot to do, I can't afford not to get some physical activity, because it's going to help me get through the rest of my day. It's going to help me manage manage my emotions a lot better if I don't do it. There's still going to be emotions. There's still going to be stress, but I cannot afford to not move, and I can't afford to fuel my body as best as I can. Now, is it going to be perfect? No, but I can't afford not to continue trying. So again, like I mentioned, plan a weekly exercise routine and write out some way to have a more balanced diet. And it can be so different. I think can be very stressful when we look at what others say it should be, like eat these things at this certain time. That can be stressful in and of itself. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of creating your own balanced diet, whatever that looks like. Is it, a balanced breakfast in the morning? At the resort, we serve 3 balanced meals a day with, a good amount of time in between. But for some, it may include a snack in the morning, and it may include a later breakfast. It can be really whatever is going to fuel your body adequately. So focusing on that can be a really helpful way to help reduce stress. Okay, the sixth step is building resilience to stress. And really, this is our ability to bounce back. So again, I'll have people comment or say, how do you manage the stress? And I just say, I've had a lot of practice. I've had a lot of practice bouncing back, because every day can be very, very stressful. And your ability to bounce back from stressful situations, it's almost like you're building those stress muscles, and the more and more we do it, the more and more we get back up and keep practicing and keep trying. You develop a resilience to stress and an ability to be able to bounce back. So it helps enable us to view and handle stressors more effectively. One of the things that you can do is practice reframing a stressful situation from the past week. So, or even maybe yesterday, there is maybe something, I know I can think of, something even today that was very stressful. And I can say, okay, how did I respond to that? And how could I have responded differently to the same situation? So write down how a change in perspective could alter your emotional response to what happened. So again, write down something that happened today, yesterday, or last week that was very stressful. And it can be something small. And how could I have reacted differently to that? Okay, step 7 is to have a long-term stress management strategy. So not just something that is going to help you get through this one thing, but what can I do long-term and add in? It's similar to writing that exercise routine, not for just the week that you have a lot of stress, but, and this is similar to my recommendation when we talk about diets, is choose something that you can do for the rest of your life. So what is a habit, or what are different stress management techniques and tools that really can be part of your daily routine? So something that can be stress reducing practices. And it's fun to talk to guests and ask and listen to. It could be, every evening having a bath at night, or having, again, the journaling can be something in the morning, or it's something at night. It can be 5 or 10 minutes, something that can help you. It can be listening to something that can be, instead of, your drive to work being stressful, listening to something that can help reduce stress and not increase stress. So this integration helps in developing a sustainable approach to handling stress, making you more adaptive and less reactive to stress over time. So we're not going to get it overnight. And I always feel like, okay, it's a work in progress, and, it's something that we continue working on, but developing a long-term plan, including daily and weekly activities. That's another thing, we didn't talk about, is it may be something on the weekend that you look forward to, that you implement. It might be, hey, a phone call once a week that I stay connected with, people that help you feel better about yourself. So having not just daily activities, but something weekly that your body and your mind looks forward to, that you can implement long term. Okay, so the last step is sharing and having community support. This is something that I didn't realize, but have learned is extremely essential, is the support, the community. And I've learned by watching guests come to the resort, and it's a powerful thing. It's extremely powerful. In fact, just this last week, because of certain situations, we missed orientation, which happens on Sunday night, and guests come and they meet each other and they have that initial bonding with the group. And then if you've been to the resort, you know how powerful. We hear guests at the end of the week talk about, that was the thing that they weren't expecting, was the connections that happened during the week with people from all over, working and doing, a lot of the same things and encouraging. So that community support. So sharing and reaching out, whether it's social media on Movara Home right now, or we have a community feed on Movara Home. And, it's fun to see people post their successes, their challenges. And on Wednesday evenings, we have a call every Wednesday with our group. And it's an opportunity to have that support, that community support. So I challenge you to share. It doesn't have to be social media. It can be a phone call to a friend. It can be in a group of people, but reach out and share experiences and strategies that have worked for you in the past. You never know who you're going to motivate and inspire. And you feel like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there. Two things happen. One, yes, you can motivate and inspire other people. But the second thing, and this is something that you don't realize is happening, you benefit. You benefit by putting it out there and sharing. I had a guest say, one of the things on Sunday night when we have our orientation that makes it so powerful is you're publicly announcing your why. You're publicly sharing, hey, this is what I'm hoping to have happen this week. So publicly, and again, it can be to 2 or 3 people. It doesn't have to be on social media or in a large group, or it can be small, but hey, this is something I'm working on, and it puts it out there, and it makes it easier, because it's like you've lifted a stress, maybe you've lifted off your shoulder of like not being able to perform something, and you've put it out there, and it's you're allowing for others to be able to support you in that. So the community engagement is a powerful tool in normalizing stress management, because so many times it's shamed, or we look at like, oh, I'm so embarrassed that I can't handle doing all of these things. Well, guess what? You're normal. You're just like everybody else. And everybody's different too, how they manage them. And putting it out there normalizes that, hey, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, it's not pretty. They're like, how are you doing it? I'm like, I'm not. It's not pretty. There's still stress. We get through, we manage. My sink is full of dirty dishes, or the laundry is backed up, and I can have the expectation of it all needs to be done, and I would go crazy, or it's just, we're doing the best that we can. And I have these stress management tools that helps me deal and manage with. Now, does it stress me out sometimes? Absolutely. Like knowing my kids have things that they need and they're in the laundry, the dirty, that can be very stressful. Or knowing my kids need to eat and I haven't planned anything, it can be very stressful. So again, learning how to manage and have tools that help you get through that stress, not get rid of the stress completely, but also sharing that with others and reaching out for support is very, very powerful. So share a brief story or tip in the community forum, on our alumni page, on social media about how you manage a stressful situation this week. So that's something I challenge you to do, and recognize and realize that, again, stress is not necessarily a negative thing. It's how we react and respond to it. And learning these management tools is going to only improve the story that we want to be living. And to be able to reach any goal that we're wanting to reach is going to be impossible or harder. I guess it's going to be not as easy to reach the goals that we're wanting to reach without being able to learn how to manage our stress adequately. So it's not a perfect, pretty thing. It's not something that we will ever get rid of and be perfect at. It's something that we'll always ongoingly do. But these are 8 steps. These are 8 tools that you can do to help manage stress better. This week, we also sent out the journal prompt that walks you through 8 different ways to reflect and to acknowledge, identify, understand the roots of your stress, physical and emotional responses. Write about how your body and mind typically react to stress. Did you notice any patterns in your physical or emotional responses? And everybody's different how they react and respond. The 4th thing in the journal response is to learn how to reframing perspectives. So choose one of the stressors and reframe it. Step 5 in the journal prompt, we talked about having different coping mechanisms. There's also an envisioning challenge. So imagine a scenario where you handle a stress in an ideal manner. What would that look like? So writing about that can be very beneficial and powerful. Having actionable steps. So list 3 actionable steps you can take this week to better manage one of those identified stressors. So it can be any of those tools and techniques that we talked about. And then I love the last is gratitude and stress. So ending your journaling session by writing about something you're grateful for today. And how does practicing gratitude impact your stress levels? A very powerful thing. So that's another thing that you can do to help with your managing stress. Use that journal prompt. And then this week's email, said to take a moment this week to truly assess your stress levels on a scale from 1 to 10. Ask yourself, what are my signs or indicators of being stressed? How often do I acknowledge when I'm feeling stressed? Because sometimes that's all it is like, hey, and I'll let people know I'm not acting ideal right now. These are the things that I'm worried about and that are causing me maybe to feel some stress. What are my initial responses to stress? For me, it can be a lot of people will shut down and not talk. For me, I'll start looking for excuses and ways and reasons why other people are causing different things. And I have to recognize and realize that, you know what, I'm just stressed about these things right now and I'm taking it out on everybody else. How does your cultural background and work environment influence your perception and handling of stress? Something I've noticed and recognized when I will start responding a certain way, I'm like, oh, this is what I maybe have seen happen in the past. So again, a lot of it's environmental or learned behaviors, which can be a really effective thing to recognize. So this week, as you journal, as you put in different techniques to manage stress, again, this is going to only help increase your ability to reach the goals that you ultimately want to reach in your 2024 story, which I love each week. Really breaking it down and asking yourself or realizing that you're the one that gets to write your story. I love the thought and the idea of taking the accountability and saying, all right, I'm in charge of writing my story. All of these things are going to affect the story that I want to be living. So again, I hope that you have benefited from this and you've been able to say, okay, how am I managing or how am I reacting to stress? and what tools am I missing? Maybe what tools do I have or that have worked in the past? Next week, I'm excited. We get to talk about how celebrating small victories can be a big impact in our story. I'm a big believer in the small and simple things are where the great and big things happen. So next week, we're going to be addressing that. And I've been hearing guests talk about, hey, I'm following along and I'm doing these chapters. So post about it, share it, put it out there. It's only going to benefit you, but also other people. And we're going to get better and better at managing stress.